Hello, my name is Callan Bentley and I teach geology at Piedmont, Virginia Community College. Today I am down in the bottom of a great big quarry, and this is in Culpeper, Virginia. And Culpeper, Virginia is also the namesake of the Culpeper Basin, which is a Triassic aged rift valley. And this rift valley was a stretch mark in the crust that opened up upon the breakup of Pangaea and the birth of the Atlantic Ocean. This was not a marine basin, this was a terrestrial basin, so a basin up on the land, but rivers and alluvial fans and streams flowed into it, carrying sediment in, and there were lakes that formed in it, and a huge stack of clastic sediment built up in here. In places, the Culpeper Basin also has mafic igneous intrusions like the rock called diabase, which is a hypabyssal mafic intrusion. But this particular site, which is a quarry owned by and managed by the Luckstone Corporation, is a place where they are quarrying a hornfels, essentially a baked version of a mud rock. And if you look behind me here, you'll see some areas of this bedding plane that have been circled going off into the distance, and those circles hold something pretty interesting. So here's one of those circles, and you can see that the blue circle surrounds an indentation which has three grooves. There's a central groove, and then one that splays off to the left and one that splays off to the right. And these are actually dinosaur footprints, all right? Dinosaur footprints from a dinosaur that walked here when this was loose mud, unlithified mud, about 200 million years ago. Here's another one of these tracks. And then interestingly here, we cross a small fault which runs across the bedding plane outcrop, and you can see the offset going down there and offsetting the shoreline as well. But then on the other side of it, the trackway continues, and we've got these beautiful dinosaur footprints moving along, at first spaced about 1 meter apart, but then the dinosaur seems to slow down and the tracks become more closely spaced as its pace diminishes and it slows down. So we can actually get a little bit of information about ancient behavior by investigating the spacing between these distinctive trace fossils. Some of the sediment here is ripple marked. All right, so we've got ripple marks. And in other locations, we have pretty nicely preserved desiccation cracks, also called mud cracks. So this would have been an environment where we had sediment that was being deposited in shallow water, and then periodically that was having little waves that ran across it, making the ripples, and then it was exposed to the air and drying out, and that's what made these mud cracks. And as I'm looking here, I'm actually seeing some features here which appear to be raindrop impressions. Some little divots. Some of these may be modern, but some of them with these little lips to these crater rims suggest that maybe these are ancient raindrop impressions. So primary sedimentary structures consistent with a terrestrial mode of deposition. Here's another trackway, this one heading off in a different direction, and you can see the footprints have a wider spacing here, indicating perhaps that the animal was moving at a greater speed. And unfortunately, that one then runs out. And one more showing a set of these traces walking up the hill as it's oriented today. Of course, this hill wouldn't have been a hill in the past. It would have been a more or less horizontal surface. But we've actually got a couple of trackways here. This one is actually coming down the hill. So there's a real wealth of these fossils here. I would guess that there's probably something like 50 or 60 individual tracks that are exposed here on this surface. So if you were standing here 200 million years ago, it would have looked then a lot like modern day East Africa looks today. A big rift valley bounded by normal faults on either side, sediment pouring off the surrounding highlands into this lowland, water pooling at the lowest location, And as that water loses its energy, sediment's getting deposited, and that sediment is drying out. And then terrestrial animals, such as dinosaurs, were walking and running over the surface of that sediment, leaving their traces behind in the pliable but not yet lithified mud. Later, burial of those sediments led to their lithification, and then we would not know about them at all unless people had uncovered the dinosaur trace fossils while they were quarrying here, and they decided to set them aside for the purposes of science and for education. So I'm really grateful to the Luckstone Corporation for preserving this site and for admitting me and my students here today.